If you clicked on this video, it is because you want to see these discoveries, so let us begin. Let us start with something extraordinary. This is the archaeological site of Quillarrumillac, not far from the Peruvian city of Cusco. It is also not far from the world-famous tourist destination of Machu Picchu. Therefore, it is often overlooked by visitors. This is a shame, because there is something wonderful and inexplicable here. It is this set of strange shapes carved into the rock. Once again, they were made using tools or methods that left no traces or identifying marks on the stone. It is as if someone pushed their hand into the rock and shaped it with no more care or difficulty than if it were a piece of clay. The purpose of the shapes is unknown, but there is speculation that they may be some kind of solar or lunar calendar. This may explain its name. If we analyze it, Quilla means moon, Rumi means stone, and Yak means the one that has or possession. It represents the stone that has a moon. There are no representations of the moon on the rock itself. Therefore, it seems likely that the rock was used in some way to track the movements of the moon. The discovery of the Temple of Karuma took place in the middle of a dense and silent forest, where no one imagined that such a large and ancient structure could exist. The stone pyramid emerged covered with plants, moss, and roots, showing that nature had coexisted with the site for many centuries. The find occurred in Laos, a country where this structure had never been officially recorded. The temple features a long central staircase, walls marked by time, and two large stone columns at the entrance, filled with simple and mysterious symbols. These signs indicate that the site held great importance for an ancient people who built everything with great care and meaning. The dark entrance awakens fear and curiosity, giving the impression that the place holds many stories. Elder residents of the region say that the temple was seen as a point of connection between the sky and the earth. According to legends, important gatherings and rituals linked to nature and the balance of life took place there. There are no accounts of treasures or riches, only of respect and wisdom. Over time, researchers realized that the Temple of Karuma conveys a strong sense of peace and deep silence. Today, it is seen as a reminder that many secrets of the past are still hidden around the world, waiting to be discovered. No one knows who lived here before the Incas. But whoever they were, they had incredible masonry skills. Their monuments show that they were able to cut and shape Andean stone without leaving tool marks on the rock. They were also able to make perfectly circular holes in stone without using tubular drills. This should not be possible, and we have no idea how they achieved this feat. The enormous megalithic blocks that make up the Inca walls of Ollantaytambo were not made by the Incas. They were recycled from the ruins of the Temple of the Sun, built by unknown hands many centuries earlier. As far as we know, the people of that time had no metal tools or even knowledge of how to make metal. And yet their techniques were advanced enough to cut granite as if it were butter. This does not make sense within the context of our established knowledge, and therefore our established knowledge must be wrong. Tiwanaku in Bolivia is a world-famous archaeological site, but it is also incomplete. Much of the site lies in ruins, and decades of testing, analysis, and visits have inadvertently damaged or destroyed historical context and evidence. This is a tragedy, because if we want to unravel the secrets of the Incas, this is where we will do it. After all, Tiwanaku is where they believed the rest of the world was created. The damage is so severe that none of the 150 remaining blocks of Puma Punku are still in their original state, but modern technology can solve this. A research group from the University of California, Berkeley, in the United States is currently scanning the site and using the collected data to create three-dimensional scans of the entire area. With this, they can digitally move the stones back to their original positions and fill in the gaps with buildings that are no longer there. In this way, they can see the site as it was 1,500 years ago or more. They can then print three-dimensional models of the recreated sites, allowing archaeologists to explore them with their hands as well as their eyes, while avoiding further damage to the real stones. Through this method, the technology of the present can lead us to the secrets of the technology of the past. These ancient peoples were as talented in astronomy as they were in construction. The problem with stone monoliths is that people consider them normal. They sit in the same place for so long and look so ordinary that they become part of the landscape, and people stop asking who put them there or why. Here is a stone monolith on a ridge called Gardam's Edge in the Peak District National Park in England. It has been here for at least 4,000 years, but it did not get here on its own. It may not even have acquired its characteristic shape on its own. The monolith is vaguely triangular with a flat face that may have served a practical purpose. It is inclined toward geographic south and is aligned with the precise altitude of the sun at midsummer. Based on this, a study of the monolith carried out in 2012 concluded that it was placed here by Neolithic peoples as an astronomical marker. There are even supporting stones at the base of the artifact, which is 2.4 meters tall, to prevent it from slipping or falling. The flat side of the stone remained in shadow throughout the winter but was illuminated during the summer. It is not really a calendar, but it is a way to track the seasons and the passage of time. Medicine and surgery are scientific fields that are constantly evolving. What is considered cutting-edge today will undoubtedly be considered primitive in 200 years. However, there are some types of surgery that we would consider far too dangerous and advanced for our ancestors. Brain surgery is probably the most obvious. Therefore, it may surprise you to learn that people were performing rudimentary surgeries on the head, skull, and brain in North Africa 7,000 years ago. Evidence of the practice was discovered in February 2019 at Amara West in Sudan, when archaeologists recovered a human skull with a hole drilled in the back. This is a process called trepanation, which aims to reduce pressure on the brain. It seems barbaric, but it can be surprisingly effective. The other surprising thing about the skull is that it belonged to someone who was around 65 years old when he died, an extremely long life for a man of that era. Was he typical of his people? Did he live among a group that outlived all of their neighbors because of their comparatively advanced medical knowledge? We need to know more. Without modern technology, it seems inconceivable that anyone could have made the Sayhuite monolith in Peru. There are more than 200 individual carvings etched into the surface of the monolith, and most archaeologists and historians cannot make sense of them at all. Many have traveled to the site to see the artifact with their own eyes, but all have returned home defeated. They do not even know for certain when the monolith was carved, although it is likely that it occurred at some point between the 15th and 16th centuries. That would make it an Inca relic. But what did the Incas mean by it? It is covered with animal shapes, but also with lines and curves that some have interpreted as canals or roads. There even appear to be dwellings here and there, along with temples. There are so many details that some alternative historians believe the Sayhuite monolith is a topographic model of the surrounding area, used by the Incas to test the viability of artificial canals. They poured water onto the monolith, observed how the water behaved, and then replicated it on the surrounding land if they liked what they saw. If this theory is correct, then this is 15th century urban planning and irrigation on an almost unimaginable scale. Not all ancient structures were meant to observe the sky, but some, like the Kokino Observatory in North Macedonia, were clearly designed for that purpose. Despite being 3,800 years old, an era we associate with superstition and fear, the observatory contains markers that can still be used to observe the movement of the sun and the moon in the sky. From this data, it would be possible to create a lunar calendar. That is exactly what we believe the observatory was built for. When the Bronze Age structures were discovered in 2001, archaeologists initially thought they had found the ruins of a settlement. Only by studying the positioning of the stone groups and tracing them along the slopes of a mountain did they realize that the entire site is actually a large and ancient megalithic installation for observing the stars. At the center of the site, there is a pair of platforms with a height of 19 meters, from which one or more people can inspect all of the stones and make observations. There are even 4 stone thrones here, suggesting that perhaps the rulers of this society came to watch their astronomers at work. We are often told that people from 3,800 years ago were little more than barbarians, but that is clearly not true. The Audrey stone circles in Poland may not look as impressive as the far more famous Stonehenge in England, but they are undoubtedly more mysterious. This is not only because they are hidden within a dense forest filled with myths of magic and witchcraft. They date back to the 1st century, which places them in the Iron Age and suggests they may be the work of the Goths. There are 12 stone circles at the site, each with a stele at its center. Buried among the circles are between 600 and 900 people in burial mounds. The positioning of the stones is curious. They do not align with the stars and do not point in any significant direction. You cannot use them to mark solstices or equinoxes. In other words, they do not match the purposes we normally expect to see in ancient stone circles. However, there may be hope on the horizon for solving this mystery. Recent satellite research and ground-penetrating radar surveys in the area revealed the presence of even more circles overlapping the existing ones, but they cannot be seen with the naked eye. Perhaps reconstructing the entire site is the key to understanding it. We all have a piece of technology that has continued to work far longer than we expected. It might be a video game console, a phone, perhaps a laptop, or something as simple as a watch. No matter how long it has worked, it does not even come close to the windmills in Nashtafan, Iran. They have been operating continuously for more than 1,000 years, and they still grind flour today. At the risk of stating the obvious, these are the oldest operational windmills in the world. However, they do not look much like windmills, and that is because they come from a time before the invention of the conventional windmill design. There are no sails here. Instead, there are blades made of wood and reeds attached to the walls. There they are battered by the strong winds that constantly sweep through Nashtafan. The wind turns the blades. The blades drive the old millstones and flour is produced. The precise secrets of how the mill works were never written down but instead passed on verbally in a line of succession from father to son. Here in 2021, the current mill operator has no son, and the future of this ancient mill is uncertain. No ancient civilization has been studied more than the Egyptians, and yet there are still new things to discover about this powerful people and their empire. We still do not fully understand some of the things we have already found, such as the Temple of Ka-Mombo. The mummified remains of several hundred crocodiles were recently found beneath the temple, finally explaining some of the markings on the walls. Unusual for Egypt in the Ptolemaic period, the temple is divided into two parts. There are 2 halls, 2 courtyards, 2 sanctuaries, and even 2 entrances. Half of the temple is dedicated to the worship of Sobek, and the other half to Horus. The Sobek half of the temple is covered with paintings of crocodiles, but no one has been able to figure out why. The paintings gave the temple the nickname House of the Crocodiles. But until the crocodile remains were found, most historians thought the artwork was simply peculiar and inexplicable. What remains inexplicable are the engravings of medical and surgical instruments on the temple walls, which are said to be the oldest in the world. Were there 2 separate priests here? One devoted to medicine and the other to crocodiles? If so, what did they have in common? We feel that we did not give enough attention to the wonders of ancient Greek technology in this video, so let us do something about it. If you want to learn more about Greek ingenuity and the innovations of the Greek world, visit the Kotsanas Museum of Ancient Greek Technology in Katakolo, Greece. It effectively contains all the technical marvels of the ancient Greek world gathered in one place. Here you will discover how the world's first robot served wine to people more than 2,000 years ago, and how that robot was considered little more than entertainment at parties. Discover how Archimedes took time to create incredible inventions and design puzzles purely for his own amusement. Did you know, for example, that the intricate gears of the Antikythera mechanism, often called the first analog computer, were developed in Greece? The museum argues that the technology used by the ancient Greeks laid the foundations for the technologies we use today far more than the technologies of the Romans, Egyptians, Chinese, Incas, or anyone else. We left Egypt only a short time ago, but let us return there to take a look at the unique egg ovens of the country. The Egyptian method of incubating eggs was perfected 2,000 years ago and has never changed since. The design may look simple, but a medium-sized Egyptian egg oven can hold up to 4,000 eggs at once. That is a lot of chickens. Essentially, they are little more than clay ovens, but they are precisely designed to build and maintain a specific level of heat, never exceeding it. No one except those who own an egg oven knows how to do this. Poultry farmers in Europe 2,000 years ago would have killed to have technology like this, but they were nowhere close at the time. In rural areas of Egypt, the ovens are still used today, and the secrets of their construction are still jealously guarded. Ask someone how they built theirs, and the person will smile at you and shake their head before retreating to their resting chamber somewhere deep within the oven complex. That is how these things are kept. When you leave the museum, you may even agree with this perspective. Subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.